If there is a message for us today, I believe it is to learn to live from our heart in love. These short lessons, hopefully, will help to inspire you to live with purpose, love passionately, and inspire others. We are the change agent our world needs. I'm Helen Toews. Step into the river today with me to explore the mysteries of God. They are not hidden from us, but for us to discover. Okay, I put those up. I've been getting some people asking about the books, and yet they're available on the river474.com for sale, but they're also audio on YouTube, and it's for free. Anyone can listen to them, and it goes page by page. So I have some folk that their kids, that's their bedtime story, which is really, really special. And all you have to do is write in the book's name, but then write children's book YouTube, and it'll just come up. They seem to have favor, and they're on the right page all the time. So I hope if that isn't of interest at all, just go there. Okay. So week 1, our focus was for all of what Christ did for us and how the work on the cross is a finished work. Why? Because our plumb line is Christ and his love for us. Week 2, we began to look at the God code and the science that has recently discovered that there's a hidden message in us, each cell of our body. Our Bible tells that code is his name, and that it was revealed to Moses so that we might know him as God eternal within our body. Week 3, that was last week, was an introduction to the living letters of his name in Hebrew. The God code is alive within us, is alive. It's an active force and is deliberately hidden in us. And we are the only creation that is made in his image and likeness. So now we're at this week, which I started to say, I'm most excited about because I really feel it's the most important lesson and activation that we can learn that will affect and effect the rest of our life if you will take the time to engage in it. And we're going to begin to learn the technology for miracles that's within us. And just recently, I've come across, I think the most recent, I haven't found them in many places, but as we go the next couple of weeks, I think it'll be exciting to see how this technology for miracles is really a truth that we can learn and we can engage with. So it's all about our heart, our brain, and our heart. Our heart and our brain talk to each other all the time. In this little cartoon, it said this little pink brain is looking at the past, and that's often what our brain does. It remembers what's happened, but you know what? Our heart has the capacity to live in the moment far better than our brain. It lives out of a whole different sequence of events, as we're going to take a look at. Our heart, however, can get a little ahead of our brain. You know how you feel like you get excited about something, and this little heart is saying, let's share everything with everyone. But our brain sort of grounds us and says, I don't think that's a sustaining business model. There's a war on at time between our thinking and our feelings. A heart or the brain wonders what happened, but the heart says, I watch the news. Very apropos for today, I think. The brain looks at the stars and it says, really makes you realize how insignificant we are. The heart, however, is the feeling part. And it says, I don't feel like it's insignificant to be aware of that. So you can see our heart and our brains look at things very differently. There's a tug of war at times. And the reality is we're in this together. What is the function of our brain and why is our heart so important? Well, the human brain is the central organ of the human nervous system, and with the spinal cord makes up the central nervous system. Our brain controls most of the activities of the body, processing and releasing hormones, and much of what we need to function and to be healthy. Here we see our brain. I like this one because I really like the colors. But every part of our brain has allotted a certain function. And we're going to see how these, in the next few weeks, we're going to see that some of these are more relevant to us than others. And we're going to awake to some of their realities. Our brain's physiology changes with choices that we make, what drugs we take, our emotions and feelings and other situations in our lives. It's all
trying to make my
choices. I am going to
boys ever true.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, you got a bunny. Eating your garden? No, your garden. Oh, my garden.
I'm just going to ask if everybody.
Is that my yard?
Will.
No, it's down the road. Oh, who's he down there?
I'm going to ask if everybody will mute themselves. I'm trying to get to the place of I know I can mute all, but now I can't. Here we go. Thank you. Thank you. All right. It's all about choices in our life. Ever heard that before? It's all about choices. Which way will you choose? Marijuana is legal in Canada, which I always say yikes to. It's a choice. Do you want to go that direction or not? You've always got someone sitting on your shoulder, don't you? Here's what I wanted us to see. Choose marijuana. This is what your healthy brain looks like. A 28-year-old weekend marijuana user, and this is where I wish all the kids today would see these pictures. In April 2014, Harvard Medical School, casual marijuana use linked to changed volume, shape, and density of gray matter in the brain. It affects our decision making. And of course, other drugs do too. The dopamine D2 receptors are lower in addiction. And here we see the different brain patterns. If you're on cocaine, what happens? Meth, alcohol, heroin. There's a healthy control brain here, but here's a patient with meth use disorder. The middle one is 1 month of abstinence, 14 months of abstinence. So our brain actually can be restored, but it seems to, in any pictures I've looked at, have residual effects. Understanding the power of the brain is important. It shows a function that is both seen and unseen. Our brain has both electrical and magnetic forces at work. Science has shown that both our brain and our heart's electromagnetic field extend beyond our body. However, our heart extends in that electromagnetic field 5,000 times greater than our brain. The heart is the most powerful generator of electromagnetic energy in the human body. The effects of this electromagnetic field is significant to our relationships with man and with all creation. You know, I like this picture because it shows the heart transfer from the fields. This actually does happen. And there are times, aren't there, where you've met somebody, or maybe it's that significant other, you just feel each other's presence. It's very true. All of creation is groaning for the revealing of the sons of God, Romans 8:22. All creation. We limit our thinking, don't we, if it's just to the earth. All creation is groaning. So let's look at space. I love sitting especially at the lake in the summer with there's no interference with lights, and you look up at space and you don't quite see the stars like this because this is through a telescope. But I've often sat there and said, is anyone else out there? Science is now proving that space is not empty, but actually a compassionate source field of information that comes from a divine creator. We know that creator, and we know that he is omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. The area called space is called different names by various scientists and cultures. The quantum hologram, it's called the nature's mind. The field, actually, Max Planck, the father of quantum physics, called it the divine matrix. Various indigenous people in their customs and traditions have called it the net or the web. Weren't they way ahead of their time? Stephen Hawking's called it the mind of God. That's my choice, mind of God. So let's expand our thinking. If this space is not random, and Jesus said the kingdom of God is within us, it does not come with observation. So we know that there is an inner space as well, an energy, and it's Yahweh, Yod He, Vav He. Truly, I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never see the kingdom of heaven. I'm going to tell you a little story about this little boy. The little boy is 3 years old, and his parents just brought home a brand new baby, and he couldn't get over it. He just absolutely loved to be with this baby. And he said to his parents, I want to be alone with the baby. Now you can imagine a 3-year-old boy who's rambunctious and bouncing, wanting to be alone with the baby. The parents were a little nervous, but they decided that they would let him come and be alone with the baby. And they stood outside the door as the small boy came in. And as he's looking at the baby, he says, baby, tell me what God sounds like. I'm beginning to forget. I love that story. I love it because we are born from him. In Ecclesiastes, it says we come from him and we go back to him. And when we're very little, we have this real sense of God and knowing. And sadly, it gets conditioned out of us to our real world, quote unquote, to what we think is solid. Science is saying that the space around us actually has consciousness. Maybe we need to deconstruct some of our thought patterns to allow the reality, both spiritual and scientifically, to become more real. Nikola Tesla says, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Albert Einstein said, everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency and the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy. This is physics. Wouldn't you love to have met him? We're going to look at the power of our heart. Proverbs 4:23 says, guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it flows the issues of life. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he, in Proverbs. Our brain is powerful, but the heart is the strongest electrical and magnetic field in our bodies. It is stronger than our brain. The heart is about 100,000 times stronger electrically and up to 5,000 times stronger magnetically than the brain. What we think and how we feel matters, and it actually has a scientific and measurable effect. It is the power of our thoughts and our emotions when we create a feeling generated in our heart that an electromagnetic charge then goes out and actually creates the end results. We're going to look at that further. But right now we're going to look at the science that actually measures the frequency of human thought on this planet. This is the geostationary operational environmental satellite, and they are going around the Earth all the time and measuring so much. And one of them is the electromagnetic field. Now, everybody, as we look at this picture, I think it probably elicits a certain emotion in us. I know if you were, if you remember the World Trade Center, the planes coming and crashing in the World Trade Center, it was one of shock. It was absolutely the most devastating and shocking thing, other than remembering when John F. Kennedy was killed, which really dates me. I think we can all remember when we heard about the Twin Towers. And here I found the chart that actually measured the electromagnetic field of the planet that was generated by fear in mankind, and it has a total measurable effect, right down to the day and the minute and the hour of when this happened. Fear has a measurable effect, but so does peace and faith. There's the International Peace Project was in Lebanon. The Peace Project, they found, start that again. Okay, how am I going to use
that
all right.
air fryer.
Somebody's
We have room for it, right?
okay. Sorry, guys, I can't come back, it seems, to the.
We're hearing Melinda Murray and Gary and Jerry Bohemer are not muted.
Not muted. All right. I should have shared my, okay. Okay, let's look here at the International Peace Project. It was 1980, the Lebanese-Israeli War. The Lebanon Peace Project reduced, the headline read, reduces war deaths by 76%. At that time, there was a Lebanese Peace Project research findings, and this is how it happened. The Lebanese Peace Project involved a practiced group meditating together in Jerusalem. Although the numbers in the group fluctuated, it was often large enough to achieve the superradiance effect for both Israel and nearby Lebanon. The definition of superradiance is the extraordinary positive effect radiated to the rest of society by a group of specially trained meditators. This unique effect only takes place when a significant number of these meditators form a group to practice meditation together at the same time and on a daily basis. Incredibly, by the power of your thoughts, emotions, and your feelings, you have the power to change everything. In the World Peace Group, scientific research shows beyond a shadow of a doubt that when certain types of specialist meditators, when they're grouped together in one place, can radiate an influence of peace and tranquility to the surrounding population. When this happens, open warfare, fighting stops, crime tends to decline, domestic and international harmony improves. The effect is spontaneous, immediate, and systematic. Therefore, it does not rely on any form of social, political, or diplomatic interaction between the meditating group and the affected community. The influence is created by just a small group of these meditators, equivalent to a tiny fraction of the number of the rest of the population. If our human heart collective during certain emotional times can be measured by satellites, we can come together and we can actually affect the world. We can be the change agent. The square root of 0.1% of a population can markedly and now scientifically and it is now scientifically understood to have a measurable effect on thousands of people. So if you're in a city of 1 million people, the change agent would be 100 people. In a world of 6 billion, 8,000 people could make a difference. Every human being has the power to create, heal yourself, love, and bring about peace. When we learn how to produce the feeling in our heart that agrees with the mind of God in our body, we will begin to effectively change our world. But it only works if you will do what it takes to make it happen. The magnetic field produced by the heart, as we said, is more than 5,000 times greater in strength than the field generated by the brain, and can be detected up to 10 feet beyond the physical body in all directions into the space around us. Research conducted at the Institute of Heart Math suggests that the heart's field is an important carrier of information. I know I'm not going into any explanations or teaching on the statements that I'm making, because it's going to be unpacked for you as we go along. We're just laying a foundation here. What makes seasoned meditators different from those who casually sit and think quietly? It's the understanding that an elevated emotion broadens the electromagnetic field so that a person begins to become more energy and less matter. Yes, dear, there's a typo here. Well, we then connect to the field, the source, the mind of God. Once your attention and then your energy activates the heart acts as an amplifier to move energy to the brain. Scientists have done experiments with the very substance we are made from that show that when our heart and brain are in coherence, we can actually change matter. We can cure disease in our body, change weather patterns, live longer. If the electromagnetic field is measurable, then we can actually participate to control or direct the power. And the answer is yes. How? How do we do this? By coherence. Coherence is the quality of forming a unified whole. When we connect the heart and the brain, we create heart coherence. Our heart and brain begin to operate as a unit. The power of our heart, and this is key to the whole thing. The heart doesn't judge. The heart has no ego, and the heart is a filing cabinet for memories, not the brain. The heart doesn't judge. Let's look at Luke 37. Judge not, and you will not be judged. Condemn not, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Matthew 7:22. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged, and with the measure you use it will be measured to you. So when we talk about our heart not judging, I think it's really one of the keys to living a Christ-centered, thoughtful life. Because our heart doesn't judge, and it's not the kind of don't judge that, when you know something is right and you know something is wrong, you have to choose the right. So that's a good choice. That's a good judge. The kind of judging I believe that is important for our heart to engage with, or not to judge, are the things that we're doing to each other. We're in just a real difficult time. Many of us can identify this with a difficult time as we judge people around us. I'm watching families get separated, or people that have walked together for a long time are separated because they're judging choices that each other make. Are you taking this route in your decision making, or are you taking another one? And instead of just saying, you know what, your choice is your choice, embrace, and let each other be who you are, just as it is, not condemning, not judging, and if you have to forgive, make it easy. But our heart isn't created to judge each other. The heart isn't created to operate from an ego. Our idea or opinion of ourselves, especially our feeling of our own importance and ability, is the is how I sometimes look at ego. I always catch myself too, because how do you know that it's your ego that's involved? And I sort of feel that times when we say, you pray for something, and then there's answered prayer, and you get excited and you say, I prayed for that. Well, for when I say that, I realize my ego's in there, because you know what? I didn't give the glory to God on it. I give it because I did something. It's subtle, it might be silly, and you might be, way beyond it, but our heart doesn't operate in that ego. Our heart operates really in Christ consciousness. Our heart is a filing cabinet of memories. Some interesting stories on heart patient or heart transplant patient stories. One of them is there was a young girl who was received the heart of another child her age, and she started having nightmares. And in those dreams, she would see someone murdered, and she started describing these nightmares to her parents, and her parents took them to or told other people. To make the story short, what happened was this girl actually saw the murder of the girl whose heart she got, and was able to describe the person that killed her and the details to such an extent that that person was caught and prosecuted. That another heart transplant patient story is when this person who was a real health food addict, like just addict, that's a silly word. She just was all about health foods and eating clean, eating green. And when she had the heart transplant, she had these huge cravings for McDonald's and fried food and all the fast food things, and she's never enjoyed in her life, but now was asking for them, and found out that the person she had received the heart from, those were the exact desires or the taste of that person. Our heart is a filing cabinet of memories. The most recent studies reveal that the heart actually has its own brain. The heart nervous system contains about 40,000 neurons called sensory neurites that communicates with the brain. They call it the little brain in the heart. Research shows that as we establish heart-brain coherence over time, your body will reset any emotional imbalance that includes fear, depression, anxiety, stress, impatience, frustration, etc., and begins to create a peaceful balance within. The more you practice, the more you're able to regulate your inner world of thoughts and feelings, regardless of the conditions of your environment. Your thoughts and your emotions can make you sick. Your thoughts and emotions can make you well. The heart is changed when our thoughts, emotions, and feelings align to the reality of the mind of God that is in us. The key is in our feelings and emotions, not just our thoughts. Fear or love. Each has a frequency and a bandwidth. Each has an effect when it's released. We can learn by what we're going to learn tonight is that we can change frustration to appreciation in minutes. Did you hear some just fun facts? Your heart emits an electromagnetic field that changes according to your emotions. Others can pick up the quality of your emotions through the electromagnetic energy radiating from your heart. The heart has a system of neurons that have both short and long-term memories, and the signals they send to the brain can affect our emotional experiences. The heart sends more information to the brain that the brain sends to the heart. The coherent heart rhythms help the brain in creativity and innovative problem solving. Those are fun. Heart-brain coherence, and if you want to look up more of it, comes from the Institute of Heart Math. I know there's a number of people that are teaching it right now. It's a fabulous subject, but for me, the Institute of Heart Math was the parent for that when I started looking at it about 10 years ago. And it has amazing, amazing research. The founder of the Institute said, since emotional processes can work faster than the mind, it takes a power stronger than the mind to bend perception, override emotional circuitry, and provide us with intuitive feeling instead. It takes the power of the heart. It's a simple process, but you have to engage in it, spend time practicing before it becomes a part of you. The heart does not operate in ego or judgment. The heart operates through creative field of caring, appreciation, compassion, thanksgiving, love, and gratitude. In only a few minutes, we're going to activate our heart and brain to come into coherence that the Institute of Heart Math says is the optimum and will measure 0.1 hertz. The frequency, this is the frequency, is the optimum resting place for your heart to release compassion and love. Why? Because 0.1 hertz is the Earth's electromagnetic field line resonancy frequency. It is the primary frequency of the Earth, and it's where healing begins. So, let's take a few minutes. I know that there's a number of you who have done this before. If we were all together, I'd put some nice soft music in the background. And so because it is a form of meditation. But right now, just get really in a comfortable place, either sitting or lying down. You can actually rest anywhere. Greg, if you're driving in the car, don't do it. The first thing we're going to do, if you're all comfortable, just find that and if you like, just shut your eyes. And I'm going to speak you through it. I like just through each of these steps. The number one thing is we're going to create a heart focus. We're going to allow our awareness to move from our mind to the area of our heart. So however you're comfortable, touch the area of your heart. It can be an open palm, it can be just a couple of fingers, but this sends a signal to your heart that a shift has taken place. You're no longer engaged in the world around you, and now you're becoming aware of the world within you. The next thing, we're going to start to begin to breathe slowly and with purpose. So first of all, just take a really deep breath. Just all the air in, all the air out. Now we're going to start to breathe with this purpose of inhaling for 5 seconds. And then we're going to exhale for 6 seconds. So our exhaling is going to be a little bit longer than inhaling. So inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do it again. Inhale. Exhale. Breathe out. 5, 6. This is very purposeful. Just keep breathing. 5 in, 5 out. This is very purposeful, and you're in tune with your breathing. Just keep breathing simply in and out. When I first started doing this, I would tap with a finger just to keep the rhythm of the seconds going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if that helps you to keep the rhythm of the breathing, you can tap your finger or even your foot, whatever it takes to just get into that rhythm of breathing in, breathing out. Just continue. Deep, slow breathing signals the body that it's safe. It's in a place to support the process. This stimulates the response of the nervous system to create the relaxation response. It just doesn't get simpler. Just relax, focus on your heart, and breathe. Put any thoughts that might disturb you right now as you're doing this into an imaginary box. Any fleeting thoughts, there might be a person, place, thing, something, just put it in a box. It's safe. You can come back to it anytime. The third part, I want you just to continue breathing, just rest in that. What we're doing now is we're deliberately creating a sincere feeling of care, appreciation, gratitude, or compassion for anyone or anything. We're going to stay in that place for a few minutes. The key here is that the feeling must be as sincere and heartfelt as possible. The quality of this feeling fine-tunes and optimizes the coherence between your heart and your brain. Everyone's capable of evoking a feeling, but you may have to experience to find the one that works for you. I'm going to tell you a little story at this time. You just keep breathing, just 5 in, 5 out, relax. I want to tell you the story of a man that had 4 children. And he was riding home on a subway one late one night. And he must have thought he had the car to himself because the kids were just running around and making noise and being kids. There was another man on the car, and he was watching this, and he was getting more and more and more frustrated. This man was tired. He was going home, and these kids were the last thing that he wanted to have with him in this journey. This man he sat there until he couldn't stand it any longer. And he went up to the man, and the man just sat there. It's almost like he couldn't see what was going on around him. And the guy, the man that was irritated looked at the man and he said, "Can't you see what your children are doing?" And the man looked up at the other one and said, "Oh, sir, I'm so sorry. You see, we're on our way home from the hospital. Their mother just died. And I don't know what I'm going to do." All right. Okay, let's just come out of that time right now. I told you that story because it elicits feeling, right? It wasn't just a story that if you followed it in your heart, you went from, you may have gone from what's the sense to actually seeing the purpose. And that's how we need to operate in our heart, to come to that place of actually have that feeling of caring and compassion in our heart. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. When we find that feeling for compassion, for caring, only then it actually becomes the prayer and desire that will mirror the mind of God. Our feelings, our emotions are really critical. We have pushed them away, we've pressed them down. But in this time of heart-brain coherence, caring, compassion, love, and appreciation and gratitude actually is the key to the unity between your heart and your brain. And that is the key of getting us into that place of the 0.1 hertz. I find personally that gratitude is one of the the emotions and feelings that I can have in this time of heart-brain coherence. And the reason I use gratitude a lot is because I think of a time where something has happened for me, and it just comes to you, and how excited I am that I had nothing to do with it, and it sort of just arrived. It's that it's just that amazing flood of thanking God, thanking Him, unbelievably grateful and with gratitude. Our feelings are important. A grateful heart is a magnet for miracles. The effect of this coherence that we've just gone through actually continues to operate many hours after you engage in it. So if you spend time practicing just that simple heart-brain coherence, breathing, setting yourself quiet, breathing, and allowing that emotion to surface, allowing you to come into that love and gratitude, it actually scientifically, measurably, is still in effect for up to 6 hours afterwards. 6 minutes for 6 hours is not bad. What happens in this time is absolutely stellar. When you're in the power of heart-brain coherence, it can heal disease. Heart-brain coherence triggers your brain to produce what's needed for your situation. So when your heart is released, that compassion is released and to your brain, if there are hormones that your body needs to produce what it needs for your well-being, that triggers the brain to do it. It triggers a feeling of well-being that is heightened. It causes greater capacity to operate in compassion and love. It eliminates stress. It creates matter. We're going to look at that one next week and at many different levels. It boosts and activates your autoimmune system. Has there ever been a time where we've needed a really active autoimmune system? It releases anti-aging hormones. It brings peace. It gives access to the subconscious for affirmations and subconscious learning. It gives access to super learning, super memory, super cognition, super resilience, and access to intuition, to an intelligence in the heart. We're going to look at those and unpack them in future, well, starting next week, actually. It improves your heart rate. It triggers over 1,300 positive biochemical reactions and much more. Those 6 minutes learning how to breathe and release compassion, love, gratitude has a lot of bang for its buck, I would say. The Institute of Heart Math Research shows that as we establish heart-brain coherence over time, your body will reset any emotional imbalance that includes fear, depression, anxiety, stress, impatience, frustration, etc., and begins to create a peaceful balance within. You know, I've been doing this heart-brain coherence. I don't go to sleep without doing it. I don't start my day without it. And many times in the day, I just set myself to breathe. And I had a couple of, well, yeah, 2 months ago now, I had eye surgery. And it was very interesting because when I was in being prepped and you know, have drops put in and that kind of thing, the anesthesia department came and asked if I wanted to have some drugs because they had established an intravenous. It would be no problem, they said. And I said, I really don't feel that I need them. And they said, well, I think it would be really advantageous for you. And I said, well, what would be the advantage? And they said, well, you'll be really relaxed and you'll feel really happy. And I went, okay, I'm so relaxed that you guys are actually making me wake up in between coming to talk to me because I'm here sleeping. And I'm really happy doing it. The first guy was really, he just smiled and walked off. They actually sent another person to try and talk me into it. But you know what? I wasn't being a hero. I was just experiencing what I live in, which is the heart-brain coherence. It was quite stellar. And it was quite fun to have the operation done without having any kind of, you know, wake-up call. And I could just get up and go home. It was really cool. It works. The more you practice, the more you're able to regulate your inner world of thoughts and feelings, regardless of the conditions in your outer environment. This will require practice, intent, and a lifestyle lived from the inside out. In summary, our conscious thoughts and our feelings from our hearts are the strongest generator of electric and magnetic fields in the body. If we can change to operate from our hearts, we literally can change the stuff that we and our world is made of. Our thoughts and feelings from the human heart is created to be the generator of power to create. When we choose to feel, achieve heart-brain coherence in our body, our inner and outer world changes. When the power of love overcomes the love of power, then the world will know peace. I just put this up, the Institute of Heart Math, heart-brain coherence. There's many different techniques, but I'd like to say that we are the technology that we're looking for. In the next few weeks, if you'll just go with this 6 minutes, however long you can do it for longer, of course, but if you will practice this with me for the next few weeks, we're going to go into more and more understanding of this, how it works, and how we are the technology. And we're going to learn that we can create those miracles. All right. I hope you're all back. How lovely is this? For some of you, this has probably been quite old because I know some of the faces here are engaged in this. But here's my question for us. If you have any questions, please let us know. But I have a question. As we were going through the heart-brain coherence exercise and activating it, were you able to pull up a feeling of love, compassion, care, gratitude as you did that? And how did you do it? I'd really like, if you don't mind sharing, I'd love to hear it. How do you feel about this? I saw Yolanda, you were nodding.
I was in tears, Helen.
Oh,
It literally got me.
what got you?
Well, I knew the story about the two people in the train and the
Right.
little children running. But as I was engaging with the emotion even before that, and when I heard that man say, you know, that the mother had just passed away, and the children must have been running because they didn't know what to do. Oh my goodness.
I shared that story because of the emotion that it brings, and it and hopefully showed that we can change very quickly. That man in that story changed from anger to compassion, didn't he? He went once he had understanding. I like to share that story because of the depth that it takes us. So thank you for your transparency, Yolande. It wasn't mean to be upsetting, but for us to understand how our emotions do work and how we can generate those emotions and feeling in our heart.
We had an interesting little experiment. I put on the heart math sensor on Brenda just to see where she was at, because it senses your heart rhythm
Yeah.
and tells you if you're in coherence or not by a green blink. And then you're in medium coherence if it's blue, and you're really bad if you're in red. So she was going along with the whole thing and what you were saying, and she was in green. It was beautiful. And then you got to the punchline of the story when you said the woman had died, and she went immediately to blue.
Oh.
Which was very interesting because it proved a point. It proved a point of her level of coherence dropped. And then from then on, we sort of laughed the entire time, and it was in red the whole time. But it was very interesting little lesson because she was quite in gratitude, and when heard just the punchline of the story, she went down to blue, which wasn't terrible, and we recovered up into green and carried on into heart brain coherence. But what a fun tool to use to check where our heart and brain coherence is really at. So it was really neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really
Thank
good.
you. Yeah, it was a great object lesson
Mhm.
for us.
Where is my friend M? Did she just disappear?
I just know I'm still here.
Where are you? Okay, there you are.
Okay.
M,
Right. Okay.
we
So
had a little conversation this week.
yes, it reminded me so much of what we talked about, but I just want to share specifically, like I've had an experience today that proved exactly this. I was scheduled to have an EEG done, which is figuring out what my brain waves were doing. And I had known for maybe 2 to 3 weeks, and I was just petrified because the last time I had it was over 40 years ago. My daughter took me to the meeting because my husband gets too nervous driving in the city, and I didn't need the extra stress. So, but what had discovered throughout the last few days is I've actually been doing this. Maybe not in the same manner that you've talked about, but I've been doing this and I find myself in that peaceful state. And it's just a heart of gratitude that seems to come over and over and over again. And you mentioned when you showed the slide with the brain and the different colors in the brain that you liked. It was interesting because when during the test, I was very calm. At one point, I actually saw uh, whether it was Jesus or the Lord or the Father, I don't know, but he took me by the hand and we laid in this extra wide, has to be extra wide for me, canoe from this. It looked like the sea of glass. It was just totally calm. And then at one point I was rolled over and I could actually see through the side of the boat, the canoe, and I could see the kind of the gentle waves hitting the boat, but I couldn't hear them. But when they did the whole flashing of lights for this EEG, like I had all these colorful things sticking out of my hair, out of my head, but the colors were, and my eyes were closed, out of from the higher mental area. I think it's pink or something. It's somewhere in that. Those were the colors I saw, and greens. Okay, and then when the testing was all done, and my eyes were shut, and he said, "I'm going to switch the overhead light on now." So he switched the overhead light on, and what I saw was this orange, which was the vision. The visual, like the vision, and so my eyes are still closed, and I'm thinking, well, this is really weird. Like it was almost like a neon orange. It was just, and so I opened my eyes, and of course everything was the right color, right? But I found through this whole process where when I was 23, 24, I was absolutely petrified. I was a single mom going in for this test, and I didn't know what it all entailed, right? This time I went in and I was so everybody that we met in that whole building was so peaceful and so calm. But you attract what you want, right? So when you're attracting those negative, fearful emotions, yeah. So, but anyways, this definitely indeed works because I have the last 3 days and even today, it was just phenomenal the way that
Awesome.
the brain is no longer predicting or telling me how I'm supposed to react. I'm actually telling it to be quiet because my heart is working here.
That's so great. That's so great. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else have any comments, questions, thoughts? Does this seem like a difficult thing to do?
Helen, I would like to add something. Before you told the story about the two men in the train, I was thinking about my cousin whose husband has been paralyzed from the waist down for a number of years. He can't even speak. He's got one of those trachea things for him to be able to speak. Anyway, he's ended up in hospital again. He's been in a home. And I was thinking about his wife, and she has been so faithful that she goes and sees him in that nursing home every single day. But now that we are in lockdown, she can't go, but she still keeps in touch with, the people looking after him, etc. And I was thinking about her and everything and the stress and all of that she's had to go through for all these years. And now he's refusing any kind of treatment. He's refusing any kind of tests or whatever. So she called me to tell me all of that. And I was thinking about all of that and holding her in my heart. As you were talking about the love and affection and compassion, and then that story about the two men just took me over the top. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was the journey.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. You know, the reason that this is such an important study is because if our heart is not right, the rest of us is not right. And when we have our Tuesday group, and we have a little God squad where we a few of us come together for intention and to pray for things that we're mandated for. We're realizing more and more and more that if we aren't operating out of love, if that isn't, and if love is just a word, like I love hot dogs and I love going to the beach and I love, we flip the word around a lot. But if we aren't coming from a place of love in our heart, we aren't as effective as we could be. We aren't in that place of co-creating with him. Does it mean that he doesn't hear us if we aren't? Of course. Yahweh hears everything, every whisper, every pain, every sorrow, every word that we speak and that isn't spoken. But when we are setting our hearts with intent to be praying and to be in that creative process with him, love is the key. We can't say that we love and not feel it, because love is not just a theory, it's a person. And we're experiencing more and more that reality of learning to operate out of that place of compassion and gratitude and love from our heart. And this particular, how many is anyone engaging in this? Is this a regular process for you? Kathy, have you got your hand up? Yeah, okay. Carrie, you have to unmute.
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been doing it. I kind of have been sporadic, but I'm trying to make it a regular thing. I find it really helps me deal with stress and different things that I'm dealing with my work or whatever I'm going through. So,
Right.
And I know you taught our Brandon group quite a while ago about this. And I've kind of gone through spurts when I've been doing it and then not as frequent. But I found through this COVID time that I really do need to do it. It's
Right.
so important part of my life now that, yes.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so good to hear. That's so good. Thank you for sharing.
I'm the other Kathy. I'd like to say something too. You taught us this back in, I guess, in the fall time. And in the summer, in July, I started having heart palpitations, just stress, remote learning, all that fun stuff. And so by the time end of August rolled around, I saw my doctor and I said, can we check this out? Because I'm a little concerned about heart palpitations. I'm, decreased my caffeine because of it. And so she said, well, let's look at it. We'll monitor it. And then we started the heart mind coherence. And by the time I saw her again, she checked my heart. She's like, you know what, you're all good. Like, keep doing what you're doing. Like, as I told her, I was practicing, meditating or just controlling my heart. I didn't go into everything, but it's just reflecting on it now, I can see that that's had a really been impact just physically on my heart, not to mention my, just my whole well-being. Yeah, I've really appreciated it.
Right.
Practicing it.
Thank you for sharing that, Kathy. That's awesome. I find in my journey through life that I sometimes look for what seems to be more difficult or more I don't know. you learn about meditation, we're going to learn about stuff like that, but we look for the difficult things. So when I found this particular heart brain coherence activation, I thought, can it be so simple that we just need to breathe and to change a mindset into love and compassion? Can it really be that simple that can change our life, that can release hormones in us that will heal our body, that will, release anti-aging? Who doesn't want that? That will have your immune system, that releases your autoimmune, as a support for your autoimmune system. Who doesn't need that? We look for the external and pharmaceuticals or things like that. And here we have science and spirituality really coming together and saying, you can be the technology that changes your world. You change the inner world, your outer world changes. And you don't have to look for the difficult stuff. We're going to be talking about other techniques and the Merkaba and that kind of stuff as we go on. But I really feel, get the basics of something so simple and watch it happen in your life. Just watch it happen. Who doesn't want more peace? Who doesn't want more intuitiveness and change and see physical changes? Who doesn't want to be healthier, wealthier, wiser? Because it's all part of our heart. We used to say that, when we learn something, I have to get it from my head to my heart. And I'm realizing that's actually backwards. We have to get it from our heart to our head.
I have a question, and I think I know the answer, but you mentioned about the time factor and how long have you actually been doing this? I know, I understand. I think it's been probably going on 4 years since I've been with the Brandon Group, maybe only 3. But when actually doing heart heart brain math, whatever it's called, I always get them mixed up. But have you been doing this sequence, this method, since before COVID, or has it been specifically done more often than?
Oh heavens, yes. I the first time I taught it like out loud was Mike, when we had Mike Parsons here. That's about 5 years ago now.
Before my time.
Yeah. And so I don't teach anything that I'm not living. So it was a couple of years. So I'm going to say easily 5 to 6 years.
Okay.
And it's, why I do it? Because it's simple. And the benefits are so amazing. There really is nothing to it, but I do spend time in other meditations. I can get lost for hours, actually. Sometimes I'm up at 3 in the morning and I find a nice quiet corner of our world and I'm just gone in other forms of meditation. I don't start anything without getting my heart, brain in that coherence, because I want to do everything from that place of love. I want to live out of that place. And doing this very simple thing makes me more in tune with my own thinking, my own thoughts, because it's easy to fool people by flowery speech and all that, but you can't fool yourself and you can't fool God. Well, maybe you can fool yourself. I think a lot of us have that, but you certainly can't. You can't fool God. And it's our inner life, our inner technology that how we've been created. We are wonderfully and fearfully made, and he wants us to cooperate with that so that he can take us into the places that he wants us to go. Right. And we're learning, and I firmly believe we will only learn it out of activating our own beings in love. That to me is totally where it's at.
I totally agree. I know I found that at first I was hesitant, and that was only because I didn't know if I was doing it right. You know, like you have to do things right. And you know, that's the old me. I do it according to what God wants me to do now. So I'm definitely more in tune. But I know, going back to our conversation that you had mentioned when you first asked me to say something, was in regards to gratitude and appreciation. I think that's what you were wanting me to talk about.
Yeah.
So for me, a heart of gratitude also has to include that heart of appreciation. Appreciation to me is more like a piece of paper that's very flexible, but it's from the past to the present and to what is going to be happening in the future. Whereas a heart of gratitude is for this moment, so it's a little bit more solid. I likened it to you as my phone, which is only it's very stable. It's not flexible, and to a sheet of paper. You know, so there is a difference in wording, and but yes, that getting to that heart of whatever. And today it was, for me, it was love and gratitude for what God was bringing me through, and just so apropos to tonight's speaking. Yes, thank you very much.
May I have a question?
Yeah.
Um, first of all, um, isn't it just like God to make things so easy for us instead of it being such a struggle with 2 hours of lengthy prayer and you feeling like, it's all about you and your efforts instead of what God is doing. So it's so refreshing to me. But my question is, so if you have a person that you want to hold in your heart, can it be several people at one time?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I sometimes in my, because I pray a lot differently than I used to. I pray out of that love and gratitude as though it's already done. So as a matter of fact, a few nights ago, I gathered my family, specifically everyone, to that place of love in his heart. And I know your imagination has to work in this, but I just did everybody who was married to everybody. I did it specifically, I did it purposefully, and I did it in my heart and felt that love for each of them. There was no judgment of how I think they should be living, or are they doing this, that, or the other thing. Didn't care, just wanted to love them, and I wanted them to feel the love. So there are amazing ways to do that, but it does come from how he's made us. He's in us, right? He is God eternal in our body, in every cell of our body. We have his capacity. We are unlimited. So the answer, long answer to is yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So your whole mode of prayer has totally been changed.
Oh yeah. Oh, we for for everything has been turned upside down. We never place ourselves in the place of telling God what to do, or ever praying out of lists. Remember the old days where we'd go to our meeting and you'd have all this list of things, and then if you didn't do it the way you wanted it, as fast as you wanted it, you brought it up again the next time. And he isn't our heavenly butler. He has designed us to co-create and cooperate with him. And it's amazing what this whole positioning in love and gratitude and it being felt love. I really want to stress that, because as we go on into the next few lessons on intention and the power of our hearts. And you're going to see the science of how we actually create miracles. If we don't come from this foundation of knowing how to live out of our heart brain coherence of love and caring and compassion, then the next steps will just be knowledge. They'll just be information. But I don't know about you. I want to go on to the more and greater and the more and I think it's simpler than we realize.
Yeah.
It's not a works program that we're in. He is love, and he's in every cell of us. Last week, after we were doing the living letters, I woke up in the morning, and I don't know if you can see my fist like this. It wasn't tense, like I wanted to punch somebody. It was just like that on my pillow. My head was on it. And all I could think of was the living letter Yod, which is the divine spark, which is in we had just done that the evening before. And I thought, in everything is the divine spark in me. And then as I was doing the heart brain coherence, part of my gratitude was meeting with the living letters in Yod He Vav He. So I just find that the life in him gets richer and more exciting, and it's never the same way twice, sort of thing. It's a new dance every time we're on the floor.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
I think that the thing I've really learned about the heart brain coherence breathing technique is that it brings us into, well, this is our 4th week. So we have to take what we've learned in 1, 2, and 3 week and bring it into the heart brain coherence. It's not a lesson of itself, in and of itself. It's progressive, as is God, as is our learning, as is our understanding. But so having said all that, I'd like to say, having learned about the heart brain coherence breathing method, it has been super helpful for me because it's brought me into not a formula, not a way that I'm going to change my prayer, not anything like that, except that it brings me into a state of being.
Come on.
Which I think is really important, and has really helped me because it's what we understand in the new that we have not understood in the old. It is not like Helen said, a prayer list and a thing we're supposed to tell God. It brings us into this state of being, and what happens beyond that is up to God. And it's up to us then to take the responsibility, like we've also spoken of.
That's right.
To hear him and to understand what it is he's saying, regardless of what we think we know.
Yeah, that's really
what we think we've learned.
Yeah.
Because we're in a new spot right now, and this state of being brings us into new understandings of that very state of being, not doing, not we have to do this to get that. It is, I'm here, I'm quiet, I'm calm, I'm listening, I'm silent, I'm breathing. And the beautiful thing about all of that is it's not a thing that we grab from the outer and bring to us. The most precious lesson I've learned is that it's already in me.
Yeah.
It comes from here to the outer. We bring it from inner because we are made in his image, because we are the I am. And so he brings out these truths and this state of being. So it comes from the inside out.
Amen. That is so good. That is so good. And I agree with all of that. That is our journey. And you know, and I don't know if it helps, Donna, to say that instead of praying, we become the prayer, because we are so, love tunes us to him. And I'm just flogging this 6 minutes of breathing. Everybody just do it. Just do it.
So if I could just add something, Helen, on a more practical note, and I'm sure it's all, my personality. If I want to get into an exercise program, I have to put it in my calendar at a certain time every day. Otherwise, it just doesn't happen. And so I find that doing the same thing with spending 10 minutes breathing and getting into coherence, which of course leads to much longer. I've come to realize that if I can get it into the calendar and do it on a regular basis, then eventually I can scrap the calendar, because then it does become internal. It's like, oh, I want to do this. I need to do this.
Yeah.
Because we deserve to spend time, quiet time. We don't need to be doing all the time. So just wanted to encourage you that, depending on your personality, that just may be the way you need to get started with this. Because we need to practice. We can't just think about doing it. We really do need to get in that comfortable chair or in the grass or, whatever works for you that day, and take the time. It's well worth it. And it's so, it's just amazing.
Thank you for that. And I love your personality, and I love people that put things on the calendar. I think it's amazing that, and if you need to do that, whatever, but also realize that the simplicity of this heart-brain coherence, because one of the things it does create is, because your heart is intuitive. We're going to see next week on how intuitive our heart is, that our heart actually, scientifically measured, is able to intuit things before they even happen. We're going to talk about how to let your heart speak. And so if any of you are writing or studying or doing anything, a long time at where you're researching things, and I know a lot of us have had more time than not, I find that taking the time and just, being in the office when I can easily write, research, and do all this for hours at an end without standing up, which I know is bad. Somebody can yell at me for that. I'll take it. But I'll just put my head back and take that 5 minutes of breathing, and I'm going to teach other forms of this as well. But just that basic, shut your eyes, turn the world off, go inward, breathe, allow that, and see that function from your heart to your brain. When I come out of there, often the revelation and the understanding of what I need to be doing, or just the directive on something, just seems to happen. Because we need to learn to live from the inside out. Stop waiting for things to happen, to make things happen. You can make it happen from the inside, your inside. Yeah. Am I missing anybody's hands? I'm here. Benita, how are you doing with all this in Victoria? Is it good?
Great, good. Yeah, no, it's really good. I sort of have a personality that sort of leads with intuition. And so I really get that whole thing. And a lot of times I'll just make decisions without even having any knowledge of something, just because it's just like, no, I just know. And I have nothing to back that up with except that my heart, I guess. Yeah. So this totally resonates with me. It's really good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you know, that is the way we're supposed to be living.
Yeah.
In that, in not, there's not the supposed to, but that we have an opportunity for that to be just fluid in our life, that is that easy way of living, because there's not a lot of stress in it, is there?
No.
That's so good.
And the living is easy.
That's right. That's
Summertime, and the living is easy. Oh. Is that my outside voice?
yeah, and you're good.
I find that the what Vanita was talking about, the intuitive part of us, often sense it's the Holy Spirit speaking to me, even though that it's, you know, whatever. I mean, God lives in us and we live in him, and therefore we are exactly like him, right? So sometimes when I'm not listening, I get this ringing in my right ear. It's okay, Holy Spirit, what do you want? So I end up trusting. I'm trusting more in what God is wanting to do in and through me. And I'm learning to rest and just be and only do when he directs me to.
Right.
So, you know, the Holy Spirit being feminine part of me, that's a, you know, I'm not talking gender here. I'm just, you know, I'm just talking, but it's beautiful and it is very peaceful. I have changed so much, especially since October, but even before that, and it's only thankful to the women and the men that have been in my life. So, you know, and I'm talking spiritual family here. I'm not talking about anybody else. But yes, I just absolutely love it. I will not go back to the old Emily. I will not go back. I refuse to. If I happen to slip that way, then I just slap myself up the side of the head and get back into the right realm.
You can't pour new wine in the old wineskin.
Yeah,
that's right.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Just in talking about, you know, how the heart has a little brain, I've also heard that the gut is like, there's so many nerve endings that our gut also is a very strong part of that. How does that play into the whole heart brain coherence? And have you you know, come across anything to do with that?
Yeah, and we're gonna talk about that, because every energy center in our body, sometimes they're called chakras, right? They all have a brain. They all function with in certain ways. And you're right. I heard a great teaching one time about the gut brain, heart brain, head brain, and how they sync together. This particular study is syncing the heart and the brain together because of the specific changes in the neural pathways and how they operate in our brain from our heart. So that's why we're dealing with this one specifically. You're absolutely right. There is a gut brain, and we'll talk about that when we do the energy centers, because they all have, each one of our energy centers actually have a life within us that we can learn to understand what's not in alignment, what is, and how to align ourselves. And what happens then is spirit, soul, and body align directly with with the Lord. And then there's an energy that goes right through us in that alignment. So
I look forward to that teaching. That
lots,
sounds great.
Lots too. I hesitate to start talking about it because we'll just go too far. Now, Ed, did you want to speak? Okay, he wrote me a note. I believe if you do not feel the love, compassion, then you cannot control the environment or other outer world. Do you want to? Yes.
Well, I just thought this is not true confessions, but when you get up at 4 or 5 in the morning, that I mean, I know that you're gone, and then sometimes I lie there and like I change. I'm basically trying to change the environment, and I find that unless you have that actual love feeling, that you get that feeling, then you can change it. Otherwise, it's just a practice in theory, and I can change everything. Like I can change my dreams, I can change everything, but it actually takes, once you have that love and compassion feeling, and you know that it's happened, then it happens.
That's so good. That's really good. I like that. Thanks for sharing that. I was wondering what you did when I wasn't there. That's awesome. Anyone else have any questions that Ed can answer? No. Are we good? All right. I'm checking on hands. Okay.
Beautiful. Thank you, Helen. It's just such a great reminder that when we breathe and get in touch with our own breath and our own life source, we also then get in touch with the source of our life.
That's very well put. Very well put. Thank you for that. Well, okay. So this is your first class with homework.
Can I just ask one?
Caroline? Yes.
Just one question.
Yes.
As an old timer at this, do you find that you have to use new stories to get you into that mode? The brain mind brain. Do the this sounds really hard-hearted, but does a thing like that train story, for example, does it wear out and you have to get a new one?
Oh,
do you know what I mean?
No, thank you for bringing that up. This is a really, really, really good question. And I only put that in to cause an emotion in you guys. Never use it. Never as part of my, here's what I do. That was just for the teaching session. When I come to that place of emotion, of love, of caring, of compassion, of gratitude, I go into a place that has brought me that in my life. The first time you hold a baby, the first time I'm in particular love with my son's dog Maggie, and this sounds really silly, but when she comes, I'll sometimes lay down when she's here, and she'll go and sit on my chest and just look into my eyes, this unconditional doggy look, and it just tickles me. That wouldn't tickle Ed. He thinks the dog should be out working in the back 40. But it brings me into that place of just love and warmth. I remember things with the children when they were really little, and we had 4 children in 5 years, so I was always nursing somebody. And one time Bobby came sat on the couch with me and took his teddy bear and hugged it as though he was 22 months, as though he was nursing his teddy bear. Those sweet moments that you just have in time, and so that's where I bring my mind to, are those lovely times, because I always feel God's in all that. It might be your wedding day, might be your first kiss, it might be It might be sitting alone by yourself watching a sun rise or a sunset where you've just had that quiet time with the Lord. Those are all things that are within our consciousness, and those are the things to draw on. It can be anything. It is not it is not a train story. I would run out of train stories very quickly, and I'd be very bored, actually, because by the time you heard it the 700th time, you're sort of immune to it. It's now just a story. You're
Well,
not.
that was actually, that really was my question in the end. Do
Yeah.
you get immune? Like, would you ever get immune to the dog, his eyes? Like,
Oh,
after, you know what I'm saying? Like, do you get immune to your cachet of stories?
That's right. That's right. No, I think that there's enough in us. I never get immune to the fact that I can sit in a room and visualize where Jesus is sitting, for instance, and how that absolutely delights me. He never leaves me or forsakes me. Or a scripture verse that in a you know a word fitly spoken is like apples of gold and settings of silver. So we've got a whole Bible of things that really capture your heart. How grateful I am for those words. Never run out of things to be grateful for. Never.
Thank you. That's really awesome.
Yeah, and they're simple, Caroline. They're simple. We don't have to make that. This is not a make work program. This is keep it as simple as possible, and don't beat yourself up. And if you've got other things that are flying through your head at that time, I call it monkey brain. That's why I just this isn't heart math. It's something I just introduced. Is imagine a box there. Throw whatever it is, just throw it in the box. If you need to visit it later, it's in the box. You can go and play with it if you want. If not, it's okay. The box.
Well, in that case, with those thoughts, I must say I did ask Jesus what to do about the box, etc., and he said, "Just hand it to me. I'll be standing right there." So now I just give him all the thoughts, and I say to him, "Will you take care of that thought?" And he says yes. So and I know if it's somebody I feel like I need to pray for them or I'm worried about them, then I actually never think about it again, because it's like he's going to take care of it. That was a prayer in itself. So that's been helping me, I just, for what it's worth.
That's delightful. That's delightful.
Yeah. Thank you.
I actually struggled a little bit with finding something like getting into a feeling of being gratitude or being grateful for something or being thankful. Because I'm a kind of personality, okay, been there, done that, on to the next. I'm moving forward all the time, and you sort of sometimes forget about the beautiful graces that God has given, because you're on to the next thing. And so for me, it was like, oh, well, I don't know, like, if it hasn't happened like lately, I don't know. And so I had to go back into my own self and into my own consciousness and really remember what it was like to birth that baby. Really remember what it was like to see your daughter birth that baby. Really remember what it was like to feel the unbelievable feeling of windsurfing and you got it, or whatever the little things were that you were so grateful, or you won the trophy, or you did the back handspring and you didn't fall on your head, whatever. You sort of forget. And so going back into and remembering yourself as a child was really fun for me, because you didn't have all the stuff that came with it. You just were a kid. You just loved. You just cared. You just played. You just, remembering those things. And all of a sudden, in all of that, there was this absolute thankfulness and gratefulness, and it brought you right back to that beautiful, playful, easy feeling that didn't have all the baggage with it. And we've all gone through whatever in life. So you think of one thing, you were kind of thankful, and then, oh yeah, that ex-husband did that day, you know, or whatever, right? So you pull out of it, but you remember the true essence of the feeling and of the gratitude. And so for me, I did have to struggle with that a little bit, but once we get back to who we really are,
Right.
how we're really made,
Yeah.
what God actually intended, what's written on my scroll,
Yeah.
who really I am, what I can offer, you remember all the great things that God has graced you with.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Verna, I'm sorry I missed your hand. Yeah. There you go.
All right. I just wanted to say that I'm meditate very similar, only I use the vowels. I breathe in A, E, I, O, and out on U. But when I get to that place, then I'll ask God to give me a memory of when I was happy or love, or he can bring the memories up for me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's such a great way to do it. Who knows better than him?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Then you connect.
It's always a surprise then.
Right. Right.
Memory brings as a surprise. Yeah.
Nice.
Well, it's about our feelings and emotions, and we'll discover more on that. Em, did you want to say anything before?
Just a real quick thing. I remember the when you showed the pictures of the brains that were affected by, like, for example, marijuana. I knew a young man, he was in his teens, and that reminded me of him, and I felt that compassion and that empathy. But you know, the fact that his brain was healed, I can't see that picture, but I know it was healed because he went on, after he quit all the drugs, he went on to become an auctioneer, and now he is in a high position working for an oil company as a quality control person. So I know God heals.
Yeah.
And it is just so wonderful. And so I have that heart of appreciation and gratitude. So yes. That's it.
Well, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you, to be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and grant you his shalom. I love you. Thank you for joining tonight. It blesses my heart to see everybody. I wish we were in person. Wish we could put music to some of this. And
Yeah.
you're deeply loved. You're deeply loved.
Thank you.
Yolanda.
Well, thank you so much, Helen. Thanks, Ed. Bless all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, take care. Love you.
Thank you, Helen.
Bye,
Thank you
everyone.
very much.
Love
Bye.
Thank you. And we learned from the others too. So thank you all.
And together, we're in it together.
Bye-bye. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Guys.